Welcome to the Life as an Observer podcast. My name is Ryan Bean. I am your host in self-observation. This podcast is an exploration of physical and non-physical self through discussion around yoga, meditation, self-improvement, self-realization, and practices that elevate the mind-body-soul connection. Let's start observing. This episode of Life as an Observer is made possible by patron support. If you'd like to support this program, you can visit patron.podbean.com/lifeasanobserver to learn more. Welcome to Life as an Observer. I am really excited for today's update. Now, first, I've got to do a little bit of interjection here. It's been a little bit while. I've been traveling, and I want today's episode or today's podcast is really kind of an update from my travels and kind of, you'll see how I tie it all together here, but really about enjoying the journey. We hear this a lot in yoga classes and online self-help locations about how the journey is just as important as the destination, or really how the journey is the destination. I was reading a quote by Rick Warren. He said, "Remember how far you've come, not just how far you have to go. You are not where you want to be, but neither are you where you used to be." It's all about perspective, about continually moving. I use the word momentum a lot on this podcast and in my meditations. Momentum is really what keeps us moving forward and enjoying each moment as though it is a small goal or a small accomplishment that has been won. So today I would just kind of want to start with a little bit of an update. You're going to hear me referring back to the show notes a lot just because I want you to have the proper links and the right locations to kind of hear about some of the things that are happening. And as kind of a repository of all things that I'm doing, I put a lot of it here on the podcast. So the beginning part of today's podcast will be just sort of an update about what I've done over the last couple months, since our last podcast, which was a month ago, and where we're going. And then, of course, I'm going to kind of tie it into a beautiful podcast that talks about the journey is the destination. So first, I've been talking a little bit about Inspire Fest that I was going to do with my good friend Jesse Coomer. I'm going to talk a little bit about Jesse and I and what we're doing with Language of Breath here in a second. But first thing with Inspire Fest, we were going to do that starting in October. I want to update you that we have withdrawn from that October date in Austin, Texas, and we are moving that. I'm going to be confirming that probably today or the next day, and it may reflect in the show notes. But at the time of recording this, I didn't have the exact days, but we're looking at the end of April and looking at doing it in Utah. So some of those who are on the West Coast or are close to Utah, California, Nevada, Colorado, Idaho, anywhere in driving distance, this is definitely the retreat for you. It's happening in southern Utah, and I'll be confirming the dates really soon. This is essentially the first ever Language of Breath retreat we're calling Inspire Fest. So this will be a Breathworkers retreat. You don't have to be a breathworker to attend. This is really to train, teach, inspire, and grow. So that'll be happening in the high desert. I'll confirm the location. May probably before this show is released. I do know where we want to do it, but I want to confirm the dates with them. And be doing that in the high desert in April 2023 with Jesse Coomer and I. Now, in between there, and I have a retreat that I'm doing with my friend Veronica Rose. And Veronica and I we've done a lot of stuff together. So Vero and I have done Evolve, and we've done some visionary retreats. We've also done the stuff here in southern Utah with expansion retreats. So Vero and I are doing another retreat coming up very, very soon, and it is specific for veterans. So if you are a veteran or know somebody who's a veteran who's looking at kind of expanding, learning, and potentially being a part of something we're calling the Visionary Veterans Campout. Now, this is happening October 13th through 16th, and we're doing it at a really special place. We're doing it at the Hostel in the Forest in Brunswick, Georgia. I've done many retreats here, spent a lot of time here. And this particular retreat, you have to contact the hostel. If you go to, I'll put Vero's page here on in the show notes, but it is just Veronica Rose with a K, veronicaroseart.com. And there's some more information on it. It does have a online link for you to do a questionnaire and just kind of ask you about kind of a little bit about yourself, and kind of gives you the information on it. And then you're asked to contact the hostel to book your space. We're just doing that just as a way so you can get your space connected. This particular retreat, I think she has some shirts out there if you want to support us in that, on her page. Some information about the retreat, some information about us, all facilitated by veterans in this amazing place in the swamps of Georgia, or northern Florida. Really, it's right at the border there, but it's in Georgia. And very low introductory rate. I'm sure I'll have Veronica on the podcast here shortly, but it's very low introductory rate. You can also sponsor someone else who maybe is in a financial hardship to attend. It does not include transportation, but includes everything else like yoga, meals, art, breath work, ice baths, hiking, sweat lodges, done by Arnie Eagle Joe, which is really great, fire circles, drumming, all kinds of lectures and so forth, and really focused on veterans. She's put in here that the Visionary Veterans Campout interconnects like-minded creatives utilizing nature, immersion, and holistic practices to revive the spirit. Veterans leave this experience with a new coping mechanisms and deeper connection to community. So you just go onto the page. There's a little center your email address, and fill out it takes 5 minutes to fill out this little questionnaire, and we'll direct you to the hostel. So really excited to be doing that. I think the best way to get there, probably to fly to either Jacksonville, Savannah, or Orlando and drive up. I'm sure there'll be a lot of people that are coming and going, but really excited to go back to the forest here, to the Forest Hostel, and really just kind of be a part of it. Now, this is happening in October, the 13th through the 16th, and I have so many memories there. And many of you who have already been there, who are listeners, you will chime in and be like, yeah, that place is, it's magical. Geodesic domes and tree houses that we stay in. So Visionary Veterans Campout, October 13 through 16 in Brunswick, Georgia. Let's talk a little bit about Seattle. So a couple weeks ago, I made the trek up to Seattle to facilitate a couple things. I did some ketamine-assisted breath work and therapy up with our friends at BioThrive Health, and amazing opportunity. But not just that, not just sitting there with clients and friends, but the journey itself. And that sort of relates to our message today, right? The journey itself is really what made the trip amazing. I also spent some time with my friend Devin and her women's retreat, which was just a huge success, beautiful, in the mountains near Cleelum, Washington. What a great experience just to facilitate them in breath work and ice baths, and really just to support somebody who has gone from a place in her journey to a very beautiful place now where she's facilitating a darker, maybe we'll call it a darker place. I hate to use that, but a place that had some contrast to a place now where there's facilitation and understanding and awareness. And that was, I guess, the destination of that. But really, as I drove, I started to use a particular app. I think I'm going to not name it just because I'm not sponsored by them or anything. But you use the app to book yourself at different farms. And I stayed at an alpaca farm. I stayed at a lavender field in the van. I stayed at a couple other just little farms. I stayed at a vineyard. lots of really cool places along the way to really immerse myself, not just in my van life, but also the environment of the journey, rather than a campground, which is great. Campgrounds are wonderful, but this just kind of made it more. I don't know. It created this environment of like safety, and it created this environment of warmth that was really beautiful. Now, in addition to staying at these beautiful farms, I decided to go rock hounding every single day. If you've been following me on my Instagram at Ryan Bean Yoga, you will see all the different rock hounding locations that I went to. Some of them were road cuts along in Oregon. Some of them were along the Columbia River. Some of them were up in the mountains in Washington, and others were pits in the middle of the desert in Utah. So really kind of neat stuff. I usually bring all those crystals, rocks, and gems to my retreats, so as kind of gifts. So if you ever attend Visionary Veterans Camp Out, the Inspire Fest, I have a couple other retreats that I'll talk to you about here shortly, but I bring those crystals, which is really wonderful. So that is our Visionary Veterans Retreat, and the Seattle update, which I plan on trying to go back really, really soon. So if you're along that path, I've been asked if I'll come back up there and facilitate again in Seattle and Oregon, and I'm kind of hoping to get up to Boise, to Idaho again, through what we're doing with Satori Health and Wellness and ketamine-assisted breath work. That's my next topic. So I'm going to tell you a little bit about ketamine-assisted breath work and what I was doing through that. So I've had some opportunities. I will post it in the show notes below, but we were just recently published in our patent pending or trademarked ketamine-assisted breath work. And it's something that I'm really proud of. I'm working with some larger organizations that have apps to kind of get that protocol on the app. But we are published in the Journal of Psychedelic Psychiatry, talking about ketamine-assisted breath work and why and what it does and how it works. Upcoming next weekend, August the 5th, so if you listen to this in time, we are doing a group session in Salt Lake City, and that is specifically for clinicians and therapists, with ketamine-assisted breath work and just kind of a retreat setting. Also, I'm doing some other trainings for those who are interested in kind of getting more involved in breath work. Language of breath is kind of the training I'm going to lead you towards. And I'll talk about that just in a second, and I'm going to give all of our listeners a link that has a discount so that you can attend that because you're a listener. And I'd like you to have a discount just kind of as a thank you. But the ketamine-assisted breath work, we're doing that here in southern Utah. We are doing sessions on telehealth online, and we're doing these sessions as we grow the business to California, which is happening really soon, Idaho, Salt Lake City, and potentially down into Nevada, Vegas area. Really, we're just looking for locations to be able to host these kind of introductory sessions with clinicians, and then in turn bring in other facilitators and be able to see clients. So if you're somewhere and we offer ketamine, and I'd like to learn more about how to facilitate this rather than just give it to them. We've had a large hospital here in Utah ask us to do that, to kind of teach them about ketamine and about breath work and how to use it and whatnot, because they are giving it, but we all know through the psychedelic training, if you want to call that psychedelic integrated training, that set and setting is everything. And sometimes in those big hospitals, it's just not there without putting a little bit of effort. So that's something that I'm teaching. If you happen to be in that realm of employment and you're interested in hearing more about ketamine-assisted breath work and that trademarked protocol that we're offering, would love to travel. That's why I'm in the van these days, and I would love to travel. So part of that protocol is to really get a grasp on breath. Now, I'm part of the Language of Breath Collective with my friend Jesse, and we have released a course, which is a 6-week online course. Now, through that, we'll have the webpage and everything else, but and you'll be able to do one-on-one sessions on that page. You'll be able to, connect with us, get maybe a few sample videos, a few things about what language of breath is. But we're doing some really, really neat things with some pretty interesting and well-known people in the breathworking world. And would love for you to follow that Language of Breath Collective when we finally launch that page. Right now it's in draft mode because we weren't waiting to release it. However, the course is out, kind of on an online teaching platform, and I'll have the link below so you can do that. And if you type in Ryan50 when you check out, you're going to get a $50 off that course, which makes it very, very quite affordable and a way for you to kind of learn more about breath work without attending, my weekly sessions. I do those on Insight Timer, or kind of digging down into some of the stuff I do with Breath as Medicine on Insight Timer, or my local Breath as Medicine classes. I do those in Southern Utah, and I've been doing a few of those in Vegas and now in Salt Lake. So you're welcome to attend those by following, usually following behind the scenes on Instagram is a really great way to do that, or you can message me, and I will give you some more information on that. But as it relates to the podcast itself, we have the patron page, and those numbers fluctuate, people joining, people leaving, all kinds of stuff happening. However, I'm still looking to meet my goal, and I would love, if you're listening to this now, I would love for you to at least take a look at some of the content that's being offered over there. Now, you may not be able to see all of it because it's all at different levels. I'll tell you that at the lowest level, the little $2 level, you get access to a lot of recordings, a lot of breath work, a lot of unreleased podcasts, a lot of meditations, just stuff for you to use in your practice. At the $9 level, that is a clinician level, and that has ketamine-assisted protocols in there, breath work that you can offer to clients, music tracks that you can use, and also I even have some recorded sessions that I did with patients. I omitted and muted their voices, but just me, so you can hear the facilitation and you can offer that if you wanted to your clients, just as a recording. If you're still unfamiliar with how to guide a psychedelic integrated session, it's all there. There are some other levels if you feel like you want to be very generous. It's really a way of keeping the podcast ad-free, which I've been approached about adding ads, and I've turned them all down, at least for the time being, because I'm really relying upon patron support. And I really like that we can do that. However, it doesn't mean that's going to be that way forever. I have a few goals that I'd like to meet to support van life and me being able to get out there and interview more people. I do have a few recorded sessions that are just waiting to be released, that I've been with a few others, so they're interview style. However, for the most part, I just need to get out there. And so your support really helps us do that through van lifing, and there's some other goals for me attending courses. I've already been doing the courses, so it's not about receiving the funding to do them. I'm doing the courses so that I can bring to you new, fresh information, really network and get out there with some of these organizations. So in the upcoming months, let me tell you kind of a little bit what I'm going to do in the upcoming months, and then we'll jump right into today's podcast. I've been invited in September, which is September the 27th, and I'm sure I will interview these wonderful people, but I've been asked to speak at the 7 Elements of Wellness. And that is happening here in Southern Utah in St. George on the 27th of September. I will post a link to their page so that you can find them if you wanted to attend. I will talk a little bit about breath work as part of it, but I'm also going to really go more into kind of heart coherence and kind of that big picture with why ice, why breath, why what is my experience with staying healthy in that physical element using this tool of breath work. And so if you want to attend, I'll leave that little bit of a link. In addition, I have a few other speaking engagements coming up, and I would love to meet some of you. I would love to see you come out and be a part of this kind of tribe or this community or council that we've kind of been building. If you feel like you are interested in breath work, or you're interested in hosting a retreat, you can message me directly. Best way is just through my Instagram. Just send me a DM at Ryan Bean Yoga. I'll leave my email address and a few other ways to contact me in the show notes. But I'm interested in getting out there and teaching where you are. Part of it is I'm in southern Utah most of the time, and van life down here is quite warm. And I'd love to get out of the area for just a little bit, here and there, a weekend here and there, to be able to meet some other people. So if that's something you're interested in doing, don't be afraid to just reach out. Say, I don't know how I can make this happen, but I would love for you to be here, even if it's in a different country. It's okay. It doesn't have to be where I can be drivable. I know that many of you are coming to me from other areas other than North America and even in the United States. So let's move into today's podcast. So today we're going to talk a little bit about life being the journey. It's really just kind of, there's no destination to be found. And we tend to move into our lives thinking that there's like some sort of goal or outcome. I think I saw it with a Winnie the Pooh quote, that life is a journey to be experienced, not a problem to be solved. And I don't know when that change happened. I'm guessing it's maybe from the baby boomer era, where we had to work really hard coming out of recession, and you had to kind of make it in the world again. And now we're kind of going into this new space where it's not about working hard. It's about experiencing life. And it's not that anything has changed in the way that we manifest or the way that we bring things into our lives. We're just realizing that we don't have to work as hard to get the outcomes and goals that we want. And matter of fact, the more ease we bring into our lives, the closer we bring those things that we want to us. Working hard really pushes them away because it creates this drive that we're stressed, we're anxious, we're heavily medicated, or we're hitting the bottle to just get by. And really, I found that the more ease that I create in my life, the more abundance is in my life, the more opportunities are in my life. And as I just live by my life that says, this feels good, I'll go towards that, I tend to bring more of things that feel good. Now, I think part of there is there's just no real place where we can say, hey, I've made it now. I think as kids, we wanted to say, this is what I want to be when I grow up. That's my goal. But the problem is, at least in the education that I received, we didn't get career training. We didn't get to experience a lot of other professions. We didn't really even talk about what's next after school. We just simply said, here, learn this, you'll need this. And there's some subjects that we studied that we didn't really need, honestly. But there's no destination in your career path. I think at one point, I remember when I was going through my graduate degree, that we said something about there was a point in history where you worked 20 years, you got your pension, whatever, and you retired and you got your little check. And that was kind of what the goal was for most career paths. And I think with the advent of technology and virtual employment and just with all kinds of new opportunities that have come because of the internet. So post 1990s, where we were beginning to work online and use the internet, the career paths are quite a bit different. Whereas I remember being in a high-tech industry and remembering hearing about resumes not being as important if there wasn't the longevity in a job. It was more about the variety. The variety saying that you need to really kind of continue to reinvent yourself every 2 to 5 years, because we want variety. We want you to have experience in a multitude of employers, placements, job levels, experience levels, managers, directors, whatever. That was more important than your commitment to a particular company. So how do we get there? I guess it's how do I get there? So those who are listening and saying, hey, I'm totally unsatisfied with this journey and I'm working towards this goal, whether it be to finish college, to do this particular job, do I continue to go down that route? And what I would say is yes. I mean, go towards what feels good, but maybe don't always think about going towards what you know. Meaning, I know exactly what I want, and I know exactly how I'm going to get there. Now, if you got that in your vibration right now, awesome. Good job. That's great. However, most people don't have that. But we do know what we don't want. We know what we don't want because we know what we feel, right? We know that we want to not do a job that's outside, or we know we don't want a job that is a travel job, or we don't, we can kind of go towards the things that we know we don't want. And I knew that I didn't want to work 20 years for a company, retire, and receive a pension. I knew I did not want that. So let what you want evolve from moving towards things that feel good and knowing what you don't want. Now, don't obsess on the idea, I don't want this, because you're going to bring more of that towards you. Okay, that's kind of like a law of attraction principle, is that don't look at what is the opposite of what is wanted. But if you don't know what you want, then move towards what feels good and let the life's journey be experienced. Don't try to fix it, try to solve it, try to figure out who you are when you're simply in the process of feeling good. If you're doing a job and you're like, I don't think I'll be here forever, but boy, I like it here. Embody that, embrace it, and be that job every single day, just loving what you're doing. The moment that you feel resistance, pay attention to it. Doesn't mean it's over. It just means pay attention to it. And then the minute that you say this doesn't feel good anymore, end it immediately. And that is, that's the hard part. That's the really hard part, because you're saying, well, I need this job now. I need to make money. I need to feed my family. I need to pay my bills, whatever. But I'm going to tell you, the minute that you listen to inspired action of the universe saying, hey, this doesn't feel good anymore, you're going to receive other opportunities. You're being asked to do something difficult in this moment of transition, and that is to change jobs. Trust me, something will come towards you. You gotta focus on the I don't want that anymore. It doesn't feel good, because that produces something called burnout. And we did an episode on burnout maybe a year ago now. And you can go back and listen to that if you wanted to. But I think we're learning a lot more. So here I am coming to you from a place of where I'm really, really satisfied. And you may be saying, well, that's great that you're really satisfied, or I am, but I am not. Help me get there. Well, I'm going to tell you right now that material things don't bring satisfaction. They just don't. I wish that we could say, hey, we could get this one thing and it would make us so happy, right? But what is that one thing? Is it a new house? Is it a big car, a fast car, expensive things? And the thing is it's not really about that, right? When we have them, we just want something else. I just did a quick search, and this may not be completely accurate, but I just kind of want to read this to you. And I kind of looked up at celebrities who have committed suicide. And we have many out there that we can think about. The one that's most maybe in my brain right now because it's freshest, is Anthony Bourdain, someone who was he was a celebrity chef, and he but he battled drug addiction and he battled some other things, and eventually in 2018 ended his life. There's some others that are out there that come to my mind, different singers. And there's DJs, people who were in the limelight, who were at least on paper, really making it. One of my favorite bands, Linkin Park, with Chester Bennington, ending his life in 2017, and we can go on and on and on, making, I suppose, the statement that money does not bring happiness, that material things don't create this contentment. There's many statements and quotes from the late Kurt Cobain, those who are from that area, who died in 1994, talking about the pain and the unhappiness. Chris Cornell, another. There's so many that just didn't find it in what we would call making it in a way that says, hey, I'm here now. So why do we make these, I don't want to call them rules. Why do we make these statements about what it really means to be happy? The big things, the boats. If you have a boat, you're going to be happy. You have jet skis outside. If you have a big house, you're going to be happy. Well, I had heard on another podcast, I think it was Joe Rogan's podcast, that they had talked about the reason why we want big things is because they're hard to achieve. Big things are hard to achieve, right? So to get an Emmy, a Grammy, to win a gold medal, to win a Super Bowl, these are hard things to obtain. You have to work, train, and put effort into, these goals to then be able to obtain them. And that's why we desire them. That's why we say, hey, that I would like to have this, because it's hard. And someone put it in our brain that if it's hard, then it must be worth achieving, right? It must be worth the battle. And I talk a lot about this in when I teach Wim Hof method, how there is transformation in that discomfort or that hard place, but it doesn't necessarily mean moving away from ease. See, this is where I'm going to bring the analogy all together, but transformation does come from difficult times, and we hear all kinds of stories about those who are just down in the lows and want to improve their lives, so they do something. They find a way, and they are blessed in whatever way that is. But athletes who train their entire lives and make the gold medal, and that's great. But once you're settling into that win, we'll call it a win, now what? Maybe 2 or 3 days, maybe a month later, now what? What's the goal now? Now that thing has been achieved, it doesn't sustain happiness. It doesn't sustain you being happy for the rest of your life. It doesn't matter what that is, a gold medal or whatever. I think I had a conversation with a friend of mine who is a former Olympic medalist, and she was a gymnast. And the pressure that came from getting to that level not only affected her body, how she developed, but it affected her mindset and the way she is now. And there was a lot of work to be undone and a lot of work to be done to come back to a place of balance. And it makes me think I need to reach out to her to see how she's doing. But it shows that medal, that achievement, doesn't fulfill for an entire lifetime. It just fulfills for that time period. So really, if we think about that goal, I want to be a gold medalist. I want to be in a Super Bowl champion. I want to have the big house. I want to have that. That cannot be the end goal. We have to somehow take it and say life is a journey to be experienced. And this achievement happened on that experience. I'm not trying to finish the story right now, and just be in that place of contentment in that moment. So difficult things come from us being disciplined. Being disciplined, we can accomplish hard things. And that creates a mastery, and a mastery can lead to successes. However, they don't lead to happiness long term. They lead to short term dopamine bursts that make us feel good, and then we have to keep moving. So the goal is to say, here I am in this moment, stepping into ease, allowing this fun thing, this great thing to come and bless me, but this is not where my happiness resides. My happiness has always been right here within my heart. And as I sit in an ice bath, I think about these things too, because it's hard. You sit there, you don't want to be in it, you know that it's difficult, but once you ease into it, there becomes this nice feeling of, I'm here now. I'm not thinking about when I'm going to get out. I'm not thinking about when I'm done, I'm going to win something. I'm not trying to go for a Guinness World Record. I'm just simply stepping into present moment thoughts, feelings, and ease that allow that sensation to be my happiness. I am in a place of my own happiness, almost bathing in it, right? So really, literally bathing in my own happiness. Now you don't have to use an ice bath as the tool that gets you there, but it's a really good one. I would say my suggestion is to find small goals that you can obtain, creating those little bit of dopamine hits that make you feel good, but then resting in the idea that you don't have to complete them to feel good, because we are always evolving. We're always changing. And what you wanted to do or think or be 10 years ago may be the same, but for the most of us, it is not. Here's my example. When I moved to India, I did not know what my life would look like on the other side of India. Even while I was there, I just went. There was no, when I get back, I'm going to do this, and then I'll do that, and then I'll have this goal, and then I'll do this, and then then I'll be happy. No. It was simply go, feel, serve, and receive. And that's exactly all I've been doing since, even though I've been back for years. All I'm doing now is going towards what feels good, feel it, serve, and then receive the abundance, the love, the happiness, the benefits, all the stuff that comes from those moments, and resting in the idea that that is my journey to be experienced. And as I experience them, I'm receiving these inputs. Now, you may not feel these inputs right now through meditation and through breath work, and being able to kind of feel into your unconscious self, that unconscious self that just loves you and keeps you safe. Sometimes it keeps you safe by giving you anxiety. Sometimes it keeps you safe by giving you stresses. But that unconscious self is there to kind of give you these inspired actions that say, hey, go this way, do this thing, call this person. And we talked about this in our manifesting episode, but most of us don't listen to those promptings, and that's why we're not getting what we would call blessed. We're continually struggling and working harder because that's what we've been taught through generations and generations of our own existence, that we have to work hard to achieve things. There's so many quotes out there, right, about working hard and how it is what will bless us, and working hard is, this quality that we all need to embrace. And I'm not going to go through them because I don't believe in them. I don't believe that we need to work hard to receive. That's like, that is our criteria for worthiness. If you work hard, you're worthy now to receive a raise. If you stay and work longer hours and neglect your family and give to this company, then you will now be the manager or the director. I don't believe that. I don't believe that I want to work ever in a job that makes me feel that way either. I know that as I give what feels good, that I will receive inspired action that will lead me to the next thing. And that might be something in that job, or it might be something outside of that job. It's very, very intuitive. It's very, very in my heart space, not in my head space, where we figure these things out. So why do we want these big things again? Is it because our ego wants them? Does our ego say that I need to have a brand new car and a big house to feel fulfilled? And for many, the answer is yes, very much so. You know, the jewelry or the clothing or whatever it is that is your niche. Some people have, you know, these big closets full of shoes. For me, that big thing is just living my life in a way that I feel satisfied. So, you know, living in the van now, being able to travel and going places is what satisfies me. And for some, they would say, you're making it, you're doing the goal. And in the moment, if I were to analyze that moment, I'd say, yeah, I'm pretty satisfied. But it is not my end goal. I haven't reached my end goal. I don't even know what my end goal is, friends. I have no idea where this will lead me. And nor do I care at the moment. I'm just going towards what feels good. When I get asked hey, will you come to this retreat? Will you come teach at this place? Will you speak at this event? If it feels in alignment with my values, my morals, and where my schedule is at that time, I will always say yes, if it aligns. If it feels kind of like I'm being used, if I feel like I'm not being paid for my value, if I feel like there's something else funny there, then I'll say no, not because I don't like you. It's just because it doesn't align with what I'm currently feeling. So I had talked a little bit at the very beginning about some stuff that I'm doing. And, I get asked all the time, and I turn down a lot of opportunities, mostly just because I think we've gotten into this place where you teach yoga and meditation, so it should be a service. You should just kind of give it away. And aren't you guys all about love? And the answer, well, yeah, many times I do things for free. I do a lot of stuff that's donation based, and I speak a lot of time, or I even offer just like advice if people ask me and just say, hey, what do you think about this? And that's okay. But I also have a van payment, and I also have a dog I have to feed, and I also have a lot of things that are going on. And if it takes me away from those other things that do feel really good to do something that doesn't feel good, then I am not in harmony. I'm not in harmony with my present moment. I'm not even really on my life path, am I? Well, I am, but I've kind of sidestepped where there's flow, and I'm kind of off in those areas. I think I heard Abraham Hicks talk about this, that those little rumble strips that are on the side of the road. Well, I'm kind of hitting the rumble strips at that point where I'm in ease and I'm in flow, and all of a sudden it's zoom, 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 and it's warning me, telling me, hey, you're going off your path. You're going off your path, Ryan. And I can choose to keep going off my path towards things that don't feel good, or I can make a correction and I can come back into ease of that lane, moving away from the rumble strips of life that are warning me that this is not where your ease is. How many times do we hit rumble strips and go, I don't want to do it, but I know I should? Well, if it doesn't feel good, don't. Now, I guess there has to be some way of sort of discernment, right? Because there are some things that we have to do that aren't easy. There's some things which cause us difficulty in our life, but that is where the transformation is. So we're in a paradox, aren't we? We're in a paradox going towards things that maybe are difficult to find transformation. However, if it doesn't feel like it offers ease or is in alignment with your highest self, I guess that's where you ask yourself, what is my highest self? As you meditate, as you sit in ice baths, as you do psychedelic experiences, trying to connect to your highest self, that is where you find what your values, your morals, and your ease or your alignment to your unconscious self is. We have to get away from what our physical needs are, because none of those are going to bring happiness. We know that, right? The material things, just like the celebrities that I named, who have seem to be everything that they want, they seem to have, but there is still no happiness there. So what do? We move towards what feels good, and we take Winnie the Pooh, his quote, and take a life as a journey to be experienced, not a problem to be solved. Experience what you have to experience, and then come back the next day and experience what you have to experience. Move towards what feels good and making it your dominant intent every single day to move towards what feels good. If you feel uneasiness in your body, that's because your inner self, your unconscious self, and your conscious self are not in alignment with your life's purpose. That is disalignment. That is a place that is not good for your own creation. If you want to create things in your life, it has to be in a place of alignment. That is the feeling that you'll get when it says, hey, your unconscious self doesn't believe those things. Your conscious self is thinking them, but the reason why it doesn't feel good is because it's not in alignment. So move into a meditation. Take a minute before you make decisions. Use your breath work. Feel your heart. Ask yourself, is this in alignment? You guys ever heard the phrase, if it, there's no gray area, right? It's either a hell yes or a hell no, right? Well, that is true the way that the universe works. There's no gray area. And if you're working in gray areas where you're like, well, maybe one day, and possibly it could, and it might, that is gray area that you're working in. And frankly, gray area is the rumble strips. If you're working in gray area, move out of it. It's either yes or it's no, and move towards what feels good. There's lots of opportunities coming up to work into things that feel good, whether it be treating yourself to a retreat. We have the Inspire Fest coming up next year. We have the Visionary Veterans Retreat. I have lots of different workshops in the way of, I have some stuff here in Southern Utah, Wim Hof Method, fundamentals courses. There's all kinds of ways that you can move towards and experience life, that journey. And some of it will create some transformation. Some of it will feel really good. Some of it you'll learn from. Treat yourself to new experiences as often as possible. Stagnation is the dream killer, friends. Stagnation, just being totally stagnant. One day I'll do that thing. Well, here is the thing. The universe wants to see your action. And if you're not making action, you're going to continually be blessed with ideas, which will be inspired action. But if you're not taking action, you will never receive them. When you get the prompting that says, maybe you're getting that right now where you're like, I need to go to a retreat. I need to get away from my life for a minute so I can see clearly my own life and appreciate my life's journey. If you're feeling that way, if you're saying, hey, I need to do something about my current scenario and make some changes, do it. You may say, well, I don't have the money right now. Listen, if it's one of my retreats, tell me that. Say, hey, I heard you on the podcast and you said that you would make it. I have inspired action to come, but I don't have the money. Trust me, we can make this work for you. This is not, it's about stepping out of our own ego and moving into vulnerability and saying, hey, I really would like to attend, but I don't have the money. Especially like the Visionary Veterans Retreat. We have donations and we have scholarships that we do for those. For Inspire Fest, trust me, I'm going to have giveaways. There's going to be all kinds of stuff coming up. I know that I'll probably do some stuff with Expansion Retreats coming this year. Usually we do an event in Florida at the end of the year and then in the spring in Utah. And we offer lots of options for that, including some shared accommodations that make it possible. So it may not be my retreats, it may be someone else's, but ask the question, see if you can make it work for you, because this is something that you feel like you need. There are lots of coaches out there in the world who can help you step into what you believe is your highest self. If that's something that you're being called to do with me, I would happy to guide you in that. I do one-on-one mentoring to help with that, to just say, hey, what resistances are we finding, and what are you feeling, and how can we embrace this day? Sometimes it's just creating a routine that makes you feel completely satisfied. So in a recap, I suppose, for today, is there is no place where you can say that you have officially made it. There is no goal that says you've accomplished this. Everyone can be replaced in their job. And if your level of satisfaction is based on your position in your job, you're not making it. You're not making it. Happiness doesn't reside there, friends. Know what you don't want. Know exactly what you don't want and move towards what feels good. Material things do not bring you happiness. They bring just a temporary satisfaction and potentially actually make life quite a bit more difficult, especially if they're expensive things like big houses. We want those big things because they are difficult to achieve. Take joy in achieving those difficult things, but don't let that be the end goal. Discipline creates mastery. Mastery leads to success. Small successes will then show you pieces of happiness. But happiness is within you at every time. It's within you. It's within your heart. It's within your experience. And you get the opportunity daily to create happiness. It's not in a goal. It's in a mindset. Thanks for listening to Life as an Observer today, friends. See you next time.